torch.
You need a stand or something?
I do have one, but I don't know.
Where do you want me?
Just wherever.
How close?
And it beeps all
So I can
restarted.
just. It's going to be hard to hold it up like this for a long period. So can this?
This is hard as it goes.
And so
Do you want your head in or?
Just what I'm working on here, if
It's
that's okay. I do have a tripod too, but
So this is the
really
loose
short.
No,
hinge?
this will good. This will work.
this
you're
is the
demonst-
loose hinge.
This is the
Yeah.
loose hinge, okay.
So this is my finished sample.
Is it playing now?
Yep, it's recording.
Okay.
So I prepared these other pieces to hinge together here. So I just had a fusing sheet that I just cut with the shear into sections for this. So for this one I used the tubing with the 2 millimeter inside diameter. And the outside diameter is 2.6.
2 millimeter was inside and outside was 2.6.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can use any combination of wire and tubing for this loose hinge. And it's a thinner wall tubing. So then I measured my piece and either divide it by 3 and then slightly less. Or this one I made my middle knuckle larger and then the 2 side ones a bit shorter. So you can make it any way you want. You could even do like 4 or 5 knuckles if you wanted. Usually the odd number looks better,
Yeah.
but 3 at least. Otherwise it'll be lopsided. So with this I just measured and then I determined how long I want my knuckles to be. And I'm just going to grab a tweezer.
What are they called, knuckles?
I don't know. So one will go in the middle of the one section, and then the other 2 will go
Oh, sure.
on the other section.
Right. I got your piece. laid
So
down.
I'm going to solder this one on in the middle first. And then this one I decided to put a gemstone setting over here. So I'm going to solder that on too.
Oh, for a
And then this,
setting?
pardon me?
For setting a stone on there?
Yeah, I think a cubic zirconia. And then this I just cut it, I'll probably cut it shorter. And that's going to be my hinge pin. So with this one I'm using 14 gauge for my hinge pin. So it's a bit loose because this is 2 millimeters inside diameter. And then this is 1.6, so it's got some play,
Right.
which is okay for a loose
For a loose
hinge.
hinge,
Yeah.
You'd want something tighter if you were doing a fitted.
Yeah, for the tight hinge, you want it tighter because basically you're going to be riveting. So you're just flaring that out a bit so it can't come back through. So if it's too loose, it'll be hard to flare it out enough for it to stop. That's why you want it pretty snug.
This is what gauge again, the wire?
This is 14 gauge, 1.6 millimeters. And then this inside diameter is 2 millimeters on this tube. So I'm ready to solder this. And I'll just turn on the ventilation.
Get it for you.
Thanks. Go over here.
Sorry. Is it better if I go like
I'll
this?
go behind you down here.
You can come over here now. I can just do from this angle. Is this angle all right? Kelly?
me?
Because it's not
Probably.
looking at it from your point of view.
This is the screen, so
Yeah.
it looks all right. I'm just gonna let some gas come through the line. So also, after I've cut these, I have filed this part flat.
Okay.
So at the bench pin, I filed this so it's nice and flat across both sides where the hinges are going to be attached. I'll do this one first. So I'm going to flux it up. I'm going to use a couple pins. To support my tubing, which I'm also going to flux. So I'll push my tubing against the pins here. And then I'm going to eyeball the middle. While I'm doing that, I think I'll solder this on at the same time. My stone setting. You could pre-melt some solder on there, or you could put some solder balls in the middle. Okay, so let's reposition that, push that against the pins, eyeball that it's in the middle. Okay. So I'm going to solder this on with hard. I guess it doesn't matter, because the tight one you want to do hard for sure. Or not the tight one. The loose one with the balled up wires. But this one I'm going to be hammering them to spread them out. So you don't have to use hard with this one. But I'll use it anyway, I guess.
I always start with hard because I never know what might end up happening.
Yeah.
Where I need
Maybe come around this way now a bit, just in case the heat travels.
Do you want to be over here and I'll go over there too? Or is that good?
This is good. So I'm going to pick up a piece of hard solder, warm it up a bit, place one there, just some smaller chunks, place this one here, and then just make sure it's snug against the I think it's going to add some in the middle of my stone setting too.
Oh, so you just go in the middle?
Pardon me?
You
Yeah.
just set it in the middle. Oh, okay.
Make sure it's at the base. If I use two big ones, it should spread all the way around.
Can you do that with a smaller one too?
You can, but it sticks to the hole is smaller, so sometimes it sticks to the pick because the pick touches the sidewall. Then the whole tube is stuck on the pick.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to increase my gas and heat it up. I'm heating everything up. You want to do it flat on the block so your hinge is straight. You wouldn't do a nest with the hinge. So my seat, whoop. Line up. Keep the tubing as well. And you might want to lift it before it sticks. And I think I might just leave that there. And then line this one up.
Hold this for a minute while I get a chair. My back's going out.
So this one I'm going to flux up as well, everything.
Is that too close?
It might be once I hit the torch, start the torch. I'll have to heat that one up to get it out. I'll just move it over. I did both sides. Yeah. I'm just going to flux the tubing as well. And we can always sand back some of this tubing if it's not fitting. So I'm kind of lining up this edge here, this way, for the two pieces, and then I'm adding these on here. So this will fit in there. I don't have any pins holding anything in place. Actually, I think this is an indent in my block, so I'm moving over. You could put one pin on each side. Like right here. Then you can push this back against this way if you need to. And I'm just going to use medium on this set of knuckles. I don't know if that's too close. It might be a bit too close for the heat. Thanks. So now I'm going to increase my gas. Heat up this big chunk of metal here. Make sure you see the solder flow right across the knuckle. And we'll pickle them and then see how our fit is.
Do you want to switch?
No, you can just pass it around first.
Throw it on there. That looks great together.
So we're going to check the knuckles. And this is a loose hinge, so looks all right. If you needed to, you could use a snap-on disc. The first one I made, I had to shorten one side of the knuckle. So I would just use a snap-on disc, and then you can sand off a little if you need to. And then if they're too long, you can also trim them up a bit. I finished all the ends of these tubes after I cut them with this, so that there was no burr, metal burr, and it was cleaned up. So now I'm gonna use 14 gauge wire, and I'm just gonna round the ends off a bit. I may still have to trim it, just round off that saw mark. So we're going to insert that. So I think it'll be good for a loose knuckle, even though that one is slightly at an angle.
Yeah.
I think it's all right.
It's fine.
And this one, I'm going to be hammering this wide so that it can't fall through. So you want to be careful not to hit the tubing with your hammer.
Mm-hmm.
And also this, I think, is, well, it depends how long you want to leave it. This one I trimmed down more, but then there's more chance of hitting.
Mm-hmm. Could you just sand some of it down after you've hammered it flat?
You could, but it's usually the very end that's the flared enough out. I mean, if I used a smaller wire, a larger wire, there wouldn't be as much play, but then it might be not a loose hinge anymore. I think for this one, I'm going to just leave it at this length for now. And hammer it. So you could have it kind of like this. Actually, this has a rounded edge. So I'm just going to go with the flat-headed hammer and spread it out. Chest of it still falls through. It's still going through. So I'm going to spread it out some more. Still going through. I'm going to turn it over. won't go through now. I'm gonna push it in and do this side. I'm gonna do the other side of the wire. Pull it. Still going through. Do a bit more hammering. So that's not going through anymore. So that could be called done. Just not sure I like them quite that long, but it is up in this area that where it's the thickest, right?
Yeah, I see how much shorter this one is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tiny.
Close?
Sure.